Hey ho people, it's Stylosa and Kirioff, and this is Game Show. Good lord, the best topical gaming discussion show you'll ever see on YouTube. Oh, so I like to believe. So today, Mr. Kirioff, we're going to talk about Guild Wars 2, and I don't know whether I should be ashamed to admit this, but I have some 80 hours of gameplay since the early access went live up until today, which is a considerable amount of time, and I cannot remember a time where I've been so drawn into a game and it's absolutely taken over everything I've done. Good lord.
See, I missed the early access, so I haven't got quite that much, but I have managed 35 hours in the last 3 days.
That's not bad.
Isn't too bad. I'm getting there.
Well, averaging 10 hours a day is not really that bad, is it? Good lord. Madness, absolutely madness. So, okay, Guild Wars 2 was, you know, massively anticipated by any MMO fan all over the place. Everybody was looking forward to it. Now, I kind of will admit, I played a lot of the beta weekends and some of the like the stability tests and stress tests, and I'm like, I was kind of getting a bit not bored of it, but I'm seeing the same things over and over again. I was kind of like, yeah, you know, Guild Wars 2 is coming out. That's great. I've had it on pre-order for God knows how long. Blah blah blah. If I'm honest with you, I was kind of looking forward to Planet Side 2 more. You know, something new, something fresh. However, good lord, Mr. I don't know what to say. It's like I've literally had to pull myself away from the game to become part of Game Show. Good lord.
Well, after it, I've done the same because I was having a blast on World v World, which we'll come to later. But it tell you what, that draws your attention. It's something all that does.
Well, okay, so let's go down our list of points. So we've got a structured discussion and not just a load of rambling madness, which it will probably turn out to be anyway. So first of all, we've got the launch. Now let's talk about the launch. Now, you know, in the grand scheme of things, when you compare it to other MMO launches, how do you think the launch has been for Guild Wars 2 in this first week?
I say it's stacked up pretty well. I mean, as I say, I missed the early access, but that does mean that I started playing the same time as everyone else on the Tuesday when it was released, and barring a couple of really short server resets and really small patches, and I think there's only been one instance where I've not been able to just log in and play, which for an MMO is pretty damn good. I mean, we've been through, I think, it was 2 WoW expansions, wasn't it? And the launch of Age of Conan and a couple of other MMOs.
Yeah,
and none of them,
and loads of MMOs, yeah.
None of them were anywhere near as smooth as the Guild Wars 2 launch has been. Nowhere near.
It's by far the best launch I've seen of any MMO. The game is in such a polished state anyway, which, you know, let's face it, it has to be, because look at the competition. Obviously, its main competition is World of Warcraft, you know, and that's had 80 years to refine itself. A game suddenly coming out needs to be, you know, have a good level of polish to take that on. And yeah, I mean, from the early start, the 3-day head start, I can't really. There were some instances of lag, and generally that was down to getting pushed into overflow zones. Now, as people obviously were all around the same level before everybody started to, you know, go at their own pace. Now, obviously, my pace was quite, you know, full on. Me and Visu from the guild, we were actually, you know, we were levels above most of the population. I mean, I'm currently sitting as level 63 and Visu's level 69. That's the higher end of, you know, the population of the game and of the server. So a lot of the zones we go to now are not that bad. But if I travel back to a you know, a lower level zone, a lot of the time I'll get put into the overflow, and overflows are massively laggy. I'll see some of the guys in the guild. I mean, we've got some 60 odd members of the Unit Lost Guild, and you'll see them moaning about lag and all this, and it's kind of, I've not really experienced that because I'm so far ahead of the, you know, the level curve most people are at. I'm not in overpopulated zones, so I can't really comment on that as much. I mean, maybe you can, I don't know.
I've been in the overflow zones the majority of the time in the earlier levels, and it seems to be quite a sporadic thing. I mean, there's been, in the first day, I had the entire day on launch and there was no issues, there was no lag, even in the overflow zones. Yeah. And that was where I spent like 99% of my time. And yet, over the last couple of days, there has been the odd moment where it's not been, I wouldn't say it's like constant, but, you know, you'll go to do something and the world stopped. You can still move around, but things have moved around you, and suddenly everything will catch up. And
latency issues, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a massive issue, but if it happens more than a couple of times, then it can be a bit frustrating, because it's either no lag at all, or several spikes in a row. Like, so it's
problem
very
with it is
though.
The problem with it is though, I mean, they won't fix it because the only way to fix that is to increase the capacity of the servers. And the thing is, you're going to be in a situation next week where people have moved on from them zones and they're going to be at normal population levels instead of like massive floods of people all over the place. So yeah, it'll calm down, and it's just a thing time will probably heal, and it will probably cost way too much for them to sort of fix that. I guess we'll stay on the topic of the game itself and the fixes and some of the problems it's had, and what ArenaNet have been doing. Now, they have been very, very hard at work. You can see this. Patches are constantly coming out. But I do like the way the patches come out. There's not been any sort of substantial server downtime at all. I think there was a few hours where the servers went down, but I was in bed, so that didn't really affect me that much. But whenever a patch comes out, they'll give you a warning. It's usually a really quick warning, I think it's like a 4-minute warning or a 3-minute, 45-second warning. And then a server goes down, the patch is applied, and then you log in, and that's it. You know, that's the patch. You're straight back in the game again. There's no messing about for like, oh, I'm afraid we're gonna have to bring the server down for 5 hours while we do this or that. I mean, maybe that's happened. It might have happened once, like several hours of sleep, but it's not happening all the time. You know, they're really fixing things fast, or it feels like they're fixing things fast. And before you start as well, Kiri, they're doing things like they'll take the mail down. Now there was a problem with account security. They didn't. I think the case was it didn't really have like a lockout timer on accounts, so you know hackers could repeatedly keep trying passwords over and over again without fear of being locked out. You know, from 3 tries of your password, then you've got to wait an hour or whatever. None of that was in place. So what they did was they actually took the mail offline in the game to stop people, hackers, looting the accounts. Because that's the only way you can trade in the game, through the mail system.
But stuff like that, actually, it was kind of irritating when it happens if you didn't know the reason for it, because there was various people saying in the chat, "Oh, why is mail down?" and so on. But when you actually look at what they're doing and why they're doing it, I mean, if you have a choice between the entire game going offline whilst they sort that one issue with it out, or just the mail goes down, take the mail. It might not be simpler for them. It might be more complicated. I don't know, but it keeps the game going for everyone else. So.
First impressions are critical. They're absolutely critical with MMOs. You have got a player base which is very used to, the likes of World of Warcraft and such, and they are. I mean, I'm not a massive World of Warcraft player myself, but I'm going to obviously keep comparing it back to that because that's where most of the player base is. You get a case of like you really have to impress these people. They come over and they play your game. You piss them off, they leave your game, they don't come back, and it's so they are really going out of their way to keep the game running as smooth as possible. And yeah,
it's that kind of attitude though that I think is actually serving them really well with this launch. And I think that's why it's worked so well, because there is no point at which I've sat there and gone, "Oh, for God's sake, why isn't it working?" Because it's just in one way or another. There might be things not working at the time, like the auction house, the trading company wasn't available for a bit, but the rest of the game was. The mail system wasn't available for a bit, but the rest of the game was. And really, you're there to play the game, so missing one or two aspects for a couple of hours whilst they fix stuff, it's not going to really impact the play all that much, because you're still in World v World, you're still doing the renowned hearts and the quests and the events. It's like the additions go for a little bit, but the game itself stays, which I think is the best way to do it, really.
They're also quite transparent as well. Like you'll see a lot of things on Reddit, on the Guild Wars 2 subreddit off the developers. You'll see, you can watch their Twitter accounts. They are keeping people informed. There are some things they need to do better, like they need to include patch notes and stuff into the game, but into the launcher. But that'll come, and obviously the patches are like coming so fast. You're getting a couple of patches a day, and they're generally fixing a lot of like underlying issues. So you don't really need to know. It would be added work, if they produced a massive list of what's fixed and all the rest of it. I would imagine. But then again, surely they should have that list anyway, because that's what they're working through. But whatever. So let's talk about the game itself now. And the way Guild Wars 2 works is, it's not like your typical MMO where you have a quest log and you've got like, this big list of quests that you go through and all the rest of it. You explore areas. And in certain areas, you'll get certain NPCs that'll say certain things to you, or you'll notice things on the mini-map, which will be, or even on the big map itself, it'll, a big circle appears, so you get attracted to that area, and it'll be, let's push back the invasion of the Grawl or whatever, or the ogres, smash the ogres. And you take part in this quest. Everybody can jump in and take part of it. Think of public quests from Warhammer Online. Think of the, I think they were the Rift events from Rift, you know, where it's like a big public effort. That's what every single quest, and I'm going to call them quests, even though they are listed as renowned hearts, and that is the Guild Wars 2 terminology, but they are still quests. But it's like you go to the area and you complete the quest. It's not a case of going to an NPC, getting a quest, and then moving to an area and completing the quest. Because often you had like, this used to piss me off. Like, I mean, I'll use World of Warcraft again as an example. You go through an area, you kill the monsters, you loot, you know, say some type of item off them that you need to give in. You'll go and give that in. Then further on down the road, you'll come to another camp, and they'll send you back to the same area to collect vines off the floor or something stupid like that. Whereas in Guild Wars 2, that doesn't happen. It's all in the same area anyway. Well, you go to an area, you play the area. It's quite good. But it can be a bit strange to begin with, though, because you don't have this quest log. And for so long, you're used to this massive list of quests, like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. It's not really like that at all.
That's actually something I found out quite quickly was really strange, because I kind of found myself wondering where to go next. I mean, the stupid thing is, you can go anywhere, really. As long as the zone is within your level range.
Yeah, that's a very good point, yeah. The game is like, it's not really level dependent. It is, you know, obviously a level 20 character cannot go to a level 60 zone, you will just get destroyed. But a level 60 can still play in all the other zones, because you get your level is actually dropped down to the level range of that zone, which is great, because this means now you end up with situations where you never run out of a place to level, because you can go to every zone in the game and still get competitive XP. I mean, you could go back to a level 20 zone and still get XP for doing it, even if you were level 70, you know. But you can come back and play with your guild friends. You can play with your friends, you know. I've got 80 hours of playtime. The only person in my guild who is even in my level range is Visu, and he's about to hit level 70. You know, everybody else is in the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s. So, in a traditional MMO, I could not play with them. But in Guild Wars 2, I can play with them, and that's great. That's really good.
That's something actually that's already been quite good, because there've been instances where I've had trouble with a quest, or even as simple as at one point you were just sort of hanging around, weren't you? And so you just came into one of my story quests and helped me kill some guy. And it's like, there's not really, in other MMOs it might be possible to do that, but you would go in as the level you are, and so the challenge would be gone, and the whole sense of, oh, I've just done it, would be gone, because having a level like 70 turn up and just smash a level 20 mob is, you know, where's the challenge, where's the fun?
Yeah.
But actually being dropped down, it meant that, granted it was a little easier than it might otherwise have been, but it wasn't sort of just, it was never going to just be a walkover, because everything is still relevant to the other thing. So the boss wasn't standing there going, oh god, it's level 70, because you weren't, you were level 20 again. And I think that makes it a lot more social as well. That and the way the Renowned Heart quests work makes it like the most multiplayer MMO I think I've ever come across, just because there's always people everywhere of any level could just be wandering around in your area doing your quest. You could be level 25 and a level 60 will walk past doing the same thing that you are, but because it's the same level, it's the same challenge for everyone.
It's I mean, they've also done a lot of work on refining like the standard base mechanics you'd find in an MMO, although there are some strange decisions. Like, I mean, you can teleport around the map to waypoints. There are no flight links like in WoW. Now, on one hand, I kind of miss this, because the first couple of times you go on a griffin or whatever, you know, flying around, it is quite nice. But then the 10th, the 100th, the 1000th time you do this is very, very bad, and it does your brain in. Guild Wars 2's got rid of this. You just click on waypoints on the map, you pay a fee, and you instantly teleport to that area. There are a couple of problems with the current way this is done, is because I believe it's done off your level. So you are literally charged based off your level, so it can be quite expensive to teleport around the map, especially with things like the trading post, which is the auction house, which is currently down, so they're working on that as we speak. But then you've got some like strange decisions, like this. Well, this isn't strange, but I'm going to get to my point eventually, so just bear with me. When you go to craft, if you're in the world and you're picking up crafting components, so ore, wood, or rare crafting components that monsters drop, you can actually deposit them directly from your inventory straight into your collectibles tab in your bank. Now this can hold loads and loads of the same item. Now this is really good, because it means that you don't have to carry You don't need loads of empty bags to go on like a mining run or a gathering run. You can just keep doing this as you're questing, and then just hit the button in your inventory and put everything straight into your bank. That's great. Now this is where it gets a bit strange. If you would think they've gone to that type of level to make something like mining less of a ball ache, then why would they still have mining tools which run out? So you get pickaxes, you get like gathering scythe things, chop out onions from the ground, and you get axes obviously for logging. Why would they decide to say, here you go, you get 100 of each, and then when it runs out you need to go and buy more, and then more again? It's like a bit strange. It's like, just let me buy one axe, one pickaxe, and then get on with it. I don't know, things like that are a little bit strange.
And also, something that I found quite odd about that is, at first I didn't realise that you needed sort of a higher level of axe or pickaxe or whatever to gather stuff from, you know, high level zones. So when I started out, I had the lowest of the low pickaxe and I could mine copper. Then in the World v World, I noticed there was like mithril and stuff lying around. I tried to mine it, but I got like useless rock or something like that, or I think with trees it was rotten wood or something, because I didn't have an axe that was the right level for chopping down the wood in the higher level area. And it's kind of at odds with making it easy. It's like you can collect as much stuff as you like because you can just stick it in your bag from wherever you are. So, you know, no bag space required. But on the other hand, if you go from like a level 25 zone to a level 30 zone, for instance, then suddenly you need the next level of pickaxe, and you only get 100 at a go. So it's like, it's kind of strange. It's made it easier on one hand and more of a pain on the other hand, and it's just little things like that sort of seem a little bit off. I'm not sure whether that might be how it's going to be forever, but you know, it seems.
I don't know. I don't know. I think they'll probably make changes to stuff, especially to the travel, because the travel does get a bit expensive and it's a bit bad. Let's just talk quickly about there was an exploit where you could buy renowned weapons for massively cheap karma. Now you get karma as a result. It's like a form of currency in the game from doing renowned hearts, which are like the quests, and then you can spend them at the vendors at the renowned hearts. So like you complete a quest, you can go to a vendor and pick what item you want to buy, or you can spend it on like specialist item from other karma vendors, you know, around the world. And there are vendors which sell cultural weapons. Now these are weapons that fit your race. So like, I'm a Norn Guardian, so I'm a massive like Viking guy from the north. You get crazy massive swords and all the rest of it. They actually screwed up the price, and what they did was, I think they listed them for like a certain percentage lower, where these weapons should have been like 21,000 karma, they were actually 21 karma. Now that's like, oh right, okay. So people who coined onto this were buying the items up, like spending all the karma on all the really cheap weapons, because they were like really high level weapons, taking them to I think it's Zostromos. It's the Mystic Forge in Lion's Arch, where you can put your items in and it transforms them into something else. It's like a gamble. You know, you might get something bad, you might get something good. But of course, they were getting items back which they could then sell back to the vendors for, you know, God knows how many silver. So people were buying like thousands of these swords and doing it. And ArenaNet permanently banned them, which is quite mad. It's like, whoa, perma bans. If you slightly abused it, they banned you for 3 days. If you overly abused it, they banned you permanently. Although they are allowing you to fight the decision. I think that's on Reddit as well, which they're allowing you to do, which maybe not be the best place to do that, but that is kind of good in one way, but bad in the other way. The good way is it's okay. They're taking, you know, they're actively going out and sorting issues. But I'm afraid when you're only banning bots who are, you know, really abusing the game for 72 hours with external macro programs and all the rest of it, and a legitimate player just sees an error the developers have made pricing an item and decides to, you know, take advantage of it, you then permanently ban him. That is a bit mad, and I'd expect a lot of them to get turned over, because that's a bit crazy.
It's a bit off because it's not okay. You could say, well, the player shouldn't have taken advantage, but on the other hand, an error like that is not the player's fault that's happened. That's, you know, that's the developer. If the developer puts in something that allows these weapons to be bought for 21 karma instead of 21,000, that's a big mistake, but it's their mistake. And the fact is, in a game where you need in-game currency to get around and to buy, you know, just to exist in the game, you do need some currency. People are going to take advantage of it, and to ban them permanently for finding an admittedly creative way to use your mistake, that's not really on. I mean, by all means, take away if you can take away what they've got from it, so reduce the amount of money they've got, or
no, it's very
it,
difficult to do that. That's the problem. It's quite difficult to roll back things. Although you would imagine that it shouldn't be that hard, but from what I've been led to believe, it is quite difficult. But it was extreme, and I expect there to be changes with that type of approach.
Yeah.
So next up, we've got the environment design. Now this game looks absolutely fucking insane. It is the most impressive looking MMO I have ever seen, and the environments are massive. That's the only way I can describe this. They are massive. You are looking at Divinity's Reach, the human city that has got walls that are apparently 500 foot tall. Good lord, that is big. And the way the game conveys the scale of the zones is absolutely crazy. Oh my god, it's just.
I think the best example of it, I think that if you, as most people will be, if you're familiar with WoW, think of Stormwind, right? The big human main city. Now, in the middle of one of the Guild Wars 2 battlegrounds, the Eternal Battleground, there is a castle called Stone Mist. Now, this is just one castle on the map, right? It's just one. It's in the centre. If you own that, then you're doing well. It's bigger than Stormwind. It's massive. It's huge. It's like it dominates the map because you can see it from pretty much everywhere. But there are also keeps that are bigger than Stormwind dotted around Stone Mist. And it's just stuff like that. The scale of it is absolutely insane. You go into like the Char home city,
Death Star.
the Death Star. It's just insane. As soon as you look at it, you're like, what the hell is that? Oh my god! But you get that no matter where you go, and that's the ridiculous thing about Guild Wars. It's like everywhere you go, even if you go into like a frozen lake, the frozen lake will be miles across, and it'll go on forever. And at the back of it, there'll be a massive range of mountains that's like bigger than anything else on the map.
Impossibly massive mountains. It is extremely impressive, guys. It's like the art design, the graphic direction, the visual effects, everything with this game is it's the best MMO I've seen in terms of just visuals non-stop. It's like a massive assault on your senses. It's like shit. Like even things like the loading screens, the splash screens you get when you load. Ebonhawk Fortress in I forget what zone it's in, but it's massive. The loading screen, it looks like Helm's Deep from Lord of the Rings on acid. It looks massive. It's like, what the hell? This is crazy. This is like what? It's just crazy. You can see that years and years of work have gone into the design of the zones, and this extends across the thing. I think this. You were telling me this actually about the trenches, the details in trenches.
Oh, I can't remember what it was now. Damn it. There was, although there was something actually that I noticed the other day.
He can't remember, but I can remember what he told me. He must have a mind like a sieve. So he's telling me he was in a trench, and he was quite like mind blown. All like the little like bits of bits and bobs in the trench. They could have easily just made it a trench, and that'd be the end of it. Like, is it coming back to you now?
yeah, vaguely. It's just it gets pushed out because every time I go into a new zone, I see something else. It's like, what the hell is this? Oh my god, I've got to explore it. I mean, the recent thing that's completely overtaken everything was when, again, it was Visu who showed us an underground jumping puzzle in the World Eternal Battleground.
Yes, of which there's a video on our channel about that already. The Dark Room jumping puzzle.
But, I mean, the scale of that.
Oh, massive.
It's a jumping puzzle that takes, like, if you're lucky, it takes, like, 45 minutes. If you're unlucky and fall off all the time, like we did, it takes about 2.5 hours. But it's just the scale of that. You're going through the keep, which is huge, and the grounds around the keep are massive. You then find a little staircase that goes down underground, and suddenly there's, like, an entire new area that is the size of like, a levelling area just there, underground. And you start jumping, and by the time you've finished, you've travelled miles, and it's like you don't expect it. Even though I've been playing the game for like 35 hours in the last 3 days, I still, every time I log in, find something new that makes me stop and look at it and go, "That is madness. How have they even done that?
Madness. What is going on here? Madness." And also, the game is extremely efficient in terms of its graphics engine, or at least it is for ATI cards, or well, AMD cards as they're known now. I'm not too sure about the Nvidia crew. I think they've been having issues, but my game has been solidly running, and this is not even a lie, it runs at like 90 to 100 frames a second. I actually cap the frames a second to 60 because having it run at 100 is ridiculous. I can't witness that anywhere with my eyes. So I'm like, well, 60 is good enough. That's the refresh rate of my monitor, and it's been extremely efficient. There are times when there are little bits of strange lag. If you've seen the video with Blightgast, the dragon, which I made a couple of days ago, heavy particle effects kind of cause a lag, although they're not really particle effects. It's like a type of smog or smoke. For some reason, it's extremely laggy, and it's like, well, that's a bit strange. But the game's young, and it's like, you know, you have to, certain things you can look over. But I mean, as far as my experience has been, I've had an extremely good frame rate solidly. Everything has worked. There's been no broken skills, none of that, especially with my Guardian. I guess the thing is, Kiri, we could sit here for ages and talk about this. There's so many different topics, but I think we've kind of covered the launch. We've covered, you know, our initial impressions, the renowned hearts, which is like the quests. You also get.
One other thing that needs to be mentioned is the events that happen around the zones. You know, you do your renowned hearts, and they're like the things that are always there. But then there are events that crop up, like they will happen more than once. But the events are where the MMO part of the game really shines, because suddenly it'll tell you there's an event in the area. You run towards it, and suddenly there's people everywhere. And it can be anything from escorting 3 cows to a town, which was a weird event, to being in the middle of a frozen lake, battling a giant frost worm that can kill you in one hit. And everyone just flocks to it. And it's not a case of... It doesn't feel disorganised. I mean, it kind of is, because everyone just like flings abilities around, but there's always people rezzing, there's always people healing, there's always people throwing up shields, there's always people trying to tank and block damage.
When you get down to it, though, they are like they're events that will always be won. You cannot really lose these events, but the feeling you get from doing it is quite good, because all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, there's like 50 guys over there, I'm going over there, and it's massive. The scale's massive. It's like, holy crap, you know, there are... Yeah, so I mean, you get like certain events which like kind of progress to different stages. You'll get like, say you have to fight... the Centaur event, I'll tell you about this. This is kind of a spoiler, so if you want this to be a complete surprise, then kind of shut your ears. I won't tell you where it is or what it's called, but it's like the Centaur King guy, the big king of the Centaurs. And it starts off with defending an attack on an outpost. The outpost then puts together an army and then starts to move forward on the assault. You start to take over the lower areas of the big Centaur camp. After you've done that, you consolidate your position. So like lieutenants get called in and they have to look after certain areas of... you have to protect them from waves and waves of incoming Centaurs. Now this is the biggest scale event I've been part of. It was massive. Like, there was loads of people there, like loads, literally hundreds of mobs that spawn in these waves coming and coming. Then after that, you move up to the next area, and these massive like champion like fire dogs spawned, and there was 3 of them, and they took ages to kill. They did loads of damage. Eventually they died. As they died, the Centaur guy starts shouting his mouth off, "Oh, I'm going to sort this out." So this is kind of like going through stages. These are like almost like renowned quests, but this is like a story renowned quest. And he just kept going and going, so you get reward for that stage, this stage. And then the next stage, he started screaming about the elements. These 2 massive hands came out of the ground, started throwing rocks. Everybody was like, what the hell? Destroyed their hands, and then the Centaur King comes down, and it's a massive fight to kill him. And that was like, it was like a raid. The only way I can even compare it to anything else was, it was like a raid. You think of a raid in WoW, in EverQuest 2, in any other MMO, it was just like that. It was like, this is like a raid, but it was just in an open world zone, and I was just leveling up. But the scale of it was massive, and I just was like, I could not believe it. It was crazy. So we need to wrap this up anyway, bro. So go on, go for it.
Well, there was one more, right? There was one that it's the biggest one I found so far, and again, it was in the World versus World area, because that's, I think.
In fact, yeah, you go into the World versus World. We'll finish on that.
Firstly, the World vs World is fantastic. It doesn't really matter what time you play it. There's always going to be something happening. It's on a point capture system, so there's various castles and keeps and supply camps, and you need to go and capture them from the enemy. Of course, the enemy want to defend it, so they can either try and throw you back from the walls because you've got to knock down the gate to get in, or they can go around the back and take one of your keeps whilst you're trying to take their keep. It's, you know, when you actually get to the point where you can have something organised, because there is a way to do that later on in the game. It's going to be ridiculous. You know, if you've got a guild, you can send out raiding parties to other people's supply camps across the map. You can take over neutral camps so they can fight for you. Or Or, if you want to, you can do what we did, which was attack a raid boss that appeared in the World v World area, just off to the side of one of our
big
main
worm.
Yeah, the giant worm.
Big
Where
worm.
it was like there are three sides on every battleground. So there's always like a three-way battle going on. We were absent from our battle for quite a while because we were killing a giant worm that took nearly an hour and a half to kill, and there was like 50 people on it, and it was insane because it was like there were people saying in the chat, we could always defend the keep. No, we've got to kill this worm. We've started this worm. We've got to kill this worm. We lost so many areas killing that worm, but it was worth it because it was ridiculously. It was just everyone is there, and they're all fighting this one thing. And the best thing is, even though everyone's like technically level 80, because you get boosted up in World vs World, everyone's level 80. Everyone is sort of brought to the same level at a minimum, and then people who are already level 80 have got more gear. I'd imagine will have a bit of an advantage just because of that gear. But like you're doing level 80 damage, you're using abilities that will give you massive heals, massive damage. It did not die quickly at all. It just took ages. And whilst you're doing it, you know that in the background there are two other worlds completely destroying everything, but at the same time it's like, I don't care, we've started this, we have to finish it.
This is a very loose comparison, but if you think of Alterac Valley, the old Alterac Valley, it's like 200 times the size of that, and there are 3 enemy factions all fighting over everything. That's what it's like. There's like loads of keeps and castles in it. It's absolutely massive, and it really is something which you can also just play World v World. If that's all you want to do, you can just play that and you'll still level up and get loot. It's just, you get loot off dead people after you smash their faces in.
Which is massively satisfying.
Yeah, which it is, it's crazy. When like you get the waves of people coming back and forward, like you've attacked a keep, but your reinforcements are starting to get cut off and you ain't got enough, so you start backing off and they come out and they try and attack your keep, and then you go back and attack them, and then they come back and attack you, and it's absolutely crazy. Especially with my Guardian, because I've got massive heavy armour, loads of health. I'm like on the front lines and I'm trying to, I'm using the Greatsword. One of the abilities allows you to pull people in, so you throw chains of swords out at people and it hits them in the chest like swords made of light, and it rips them back towards you. So it's like you can rip them back into the fight and then watch them get mullered. Like this angry pack of your own. It's like crazy.
It's crazy. I'm a Guardian as well, but I tend to go support because one of the weapons allows you to put down a barrier that no enemies can cross. So as soon as someone extends a little too far or gets pulled in by another Guardian, they are then completely unable to leave because they're just walled off from the rest of their guys. And it's dead funny when someone overextends because they run towards you, they then try and run back, they can't run back, and then they're dead. And it's just no matter how many times you do it, it's so satisfying to pull it off.
So guys, you can probably tell we are really enjoying Guild Wars 2, and it's been a long time since I played a game this level of intensity. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's by far the best MMO launch I've seen, and I cannot wait to see what's going to happen come, end game, come putting a lot of hours into PvP and all the rest of it, watching the guild develop and all the rest of it. It's going to be crazy. As far as the content we're going to put out on Guild Wars 2, there will be some World v World stuff, hopefully, that may come out tomorrow. It might even come out today, although I'm not too sure, just to show the scale of that, because it's crazy. And yeah, comment below. Please leave your thoughts below. If you would like to join the Unit Lost Guild, we are on Ring of Fire EU. And send me a message, Stylosa. Send Kirioth a message in the game, and we'll get you into the guild. As I said, the guild's got some 60-odd members now. It's probably got more since the officers have probably been inviting people who've been requesting to be part of the amazing Unit Lost Guild. And it's going to be crazy. Good lord, I want to go back and play Guild Wars 2. Yeah, can I go back and play it now? Okay, chaps, click the links in the description. Subscribe, because we're the best. You love it. We love it. Everyone loves it. And we'll catch you next time. Toodaloo!